Hey, it's Tony with lidl.doodle. Thanks for stopping by my channel. We are going to talk about all things leather journal covers today. And I've got just a few things I want to hit on. I'm going to try to keep it really succinct because there's a lot I can talk about. But the first thing I want to talk about is the why. I have been using leather journal covers since I started bullet journaling in 2014, 2015-ish. If you are a veteran in the bullet journal space, you probably remember Boho Berry, and she was one that was one of the first people I followed and really learned a lot from when I started bullet journaling. And she had highlighted a company called Chic Sparrow that made beautiful leather covers. And I was going to buy one. I showed my husband and he just kind of looked at it and was like, I can make that. And he did. So not that you need a Doug origin story of how he got into this, but that's kind of where he started. And he's been making me leather journal covers for the last 10, 11 years. The first reason of why I use leather journal covers is for protection. My journals generally are with me anytime I'm traveling or if I'm at school. I have a set, probably 3 that I take pretty much everywhere with me. I mean, not the grocery store, but you know, if we're traveling or if I'm going to be on a car ride, long car ride, they're in the car, they're in my bags, they're, you know, I drop them, they get stuff on them, whatever. I like my journals to be protected. I invest a lot of, I mean, notebooks aren't cheap, right? So I not only invest a lot in my notebooks, but I put stickers on the front. And I really like to be able to take those stickers and transfer them. So like, here's my bullet journal, current bullet journal that I'm almost filled up with. And these stickers aren't cheap, right? So I will take these stickers, the ones that I really like and that I enjoy, and I will put them on my next bullet journal. And they've been protected because they've been in a leather cover for the last how many ever months I've had this cover. The next reason is just aesthetics. I love the look of my leather journal covers. I get to pick the colors. I get to pick the design. I picked this color combination for, let's see, this is my writing journal. And then I picked this color combination for my pen and ink show journal. So it's just the aesthetics of it. I just like the look. It's fun. I have different models of or designs of how I have my husband, you know, I'm like, hey, I want this style, and he just makes it happen. So the aesthetics, and then finally just to tell my story, to tell your story. You know, we will replace journals when they get filled up. They'll go on a shelf, they'll go in a drawer, whatever. But our journal cover will go with us onto the next journal. And I just find that cool. I find it kind of nostalgic. And, you know, our journal covers help keep us organized. My commonplace notebook, I've got a pouch that I put stickers and little ephemera in. And then I've got card pockets that I can put cards in. So I think, you know, depending on what our needs are, we can use them, you know, as a real support system in our organization system. So I really like, I think just telling the story and being organized, I guess that's 2, but I just lumped it into 1. Anyway, so the next thing I just want to hit on really quick is types of leather. So when you're out looking for a leather journal cover, you're going to see some different keywords, and I just want to share what I know about those or what I understand about those. So the first type that you might see is vegan leather. Vegan leather is a plastic product, and you can do with that what you will. The next type of leather that you are going to see is genuine leather. And what that means is they get the hide of leather and they shave off the top. That is, the top part is full grain. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Everything under the full grain, it gets, you know, into scraps, and whenever they're done using all of it, they put it all together and all the scraps and whatnot, and they iron it out or treat it out, and they call it genuine leather. I mean, it is leather, right? But it's not the strongest. It's who knows what part you're getting. It's kind of like a hot dog. You don't know what you're getting. And so I call it hot dog leather. But if you see something on Amazon that says genuine leather, well, technically it is leather, right? Just like technically a hot dog is meat, right? Okay. But that's what you're going to get. And then the last type of leather is full grain leather. And that's the only kind of leather that we use and that I would imagine most makers use. And just as a side note, I don't want this to come across in any way as like a commercial for my husband's business. It's not. I just, that's all I know, right? So I can only speak through what I know and what our process is. But so just wanted to put that out there. So that's what you're going to see when you're out there. So full grain is going to be that top layer, depending on the thickness of what it's used for. So let's say you're going to get some full grain leather gloves. That's going to be a really, really thin shaving of that top layer. Boots, that's going to be a thicker one, obviously. But when you see full grain, that's the strongest part of the hide. And then moving on to the brands of leather, we use 3, and that's all I know, and that's all I'm going to talk about. The first is just an unfinished, here's just a little strip that I have. Unfinished, untreated. And so we take these, so we buy our unfinished from Tandy Leather over in Portland, and they get their leather from tanneries all over the world. So I can't tell you like, oh, it's this specific location or whatnot. But this we get, it's top grain, it's good quality, it's undyed, and these are the pieces that we will use when we want to dye our leather. I have like my 5-year Hobonichi is in this. It's a thicker, though this piece and this journal is a thicker weight. And I like that for my 5-year because this is going to be sticking around with me for 5 years. So I want it to be kind of a sturdier leather. The next kind of leather that we use is called Pueblo leather. And this is from a tannery in Tuscany, Carlo Bartolozzi. It is my favorite. I have multiple journals in this Pueblo leather. One of the things that we love about this leather is that it comes in these beautiful colors. And while they are dyed, they're dyed at the tannery. It is no artificial anything. These things are dyed with flowers and tree bark and all natural, beautiful things to create this array of amazing colors. Okay. And one of the things that I love that we are doing is color combos. So we, with all these different pieces that we have, we can do a bunch of color combinations, and that's what I've been working on for the show is coming up with fun color combinations. It is, so you can see like the texture, and it is stone ground. So while it creates like a different pattern in every piece, and you can see the different patterns. So these are my husband's, but I will also show you, if you're familiar with the company Plotter, Plotter uses Pueblo leather as well. And, even though we have all of these resources to create all of our leather journals in our kitchen, which is a disaster, by the way, with leather stuff, we still support other journal companies, right? Well, I think between the two of us, we have like 6 plotters. I use traveler's notebooks, right? So this, I believe, is maybe it's a Nubuck, I think, or don't quote me on that. And this one, I'm going to assume this is just standard like veg tanned leather that would start out like this and then get dyed that. So, you know, we support other leather companies, and that's, you know, I think important. I'm biased to what my husband is doing because it's so personal to me. But the other kind of leather that we have is the sexiest leather. This is Horween Leather. And they are a tannery in Chicago. They are family owned. They've been around for generations, I think like 120 years. And they are the official manufacturer of leather products for the NFL. So their leather makes footballs. That's kind of fun. This is a pull-up. It's called a pull-up leather. And so like when you crease it, it makes those different marks, and then it kind of, you know, goes in and out. I have a beautiful passport cover in Horween Leather, and you can see kind of where it's creased there, and it just gives it so much personality. And I just absolutely, this leather is divine, and it smells so good. It's just a fantastic leather. So let's talk just about Amazon versus Handmade. Here is a $25 genuine leather journal cover from Amazon, okay? And I'm gonna compare it to my commonplace notebook, because right now what I have up here with me is, this is kind of the closest. Well, my commonplace notebook is a little more involved. We'll just worry about the parts that I'm gonna talk about. So I'm gonna share just what our process is for making something like this versus what you're getting when you get something like this, okay? And listen, I love Amazon as much as the next person. I'm not saying that, you know, Amazon's the devil. I'm just saying when you order something off Amazon, just know what you're getting. It says genuine leather. This is leather, but it's hot dog leather, right? When we get an order, we start out by, depending on the size. So this is like a panel, right? If it's a smaller Field Notes A6, you know, maybe he uses a panel. And if it's a larger piece, you know, we have big hides of leather as well that he can pick from. He cuts out the template of the model. And then once he gets all those pieces cut out, he glues the components together. So, you know, he would take these two pieces, because they're two pieces separate, glue them first and then stitch them. And then after he glues this on, then he gets to the stitching. I'll talk about that in a second. And then like this, for example, doesn't have anything to glue because this is like a Traveler's. It just has the strings in it. And then after he glues it, he goes through, because he hand stitches these, you know, like a sewing machine, the needle pokes the hole in, right? That doesn't work with hand stitching. He goes through with this tool. Let's see if I can get that to focus. And he hand pokes every single stitching hole. So he puts this in, and then I'll hear it hammer, hammer, hammer. And so there's a lot of precision involved in this, because like he has to measure out the exact distance and, you know, from the edge, and then he, you know, he has to go through and like basically do an indent line so that he knows where, you know, on the inside to put this. It's very, very involved. So once he gets those holes punched all around the journal, and, you know, like for example, in this one, you know, I've got, this is stitched, all of this is stitched, right? You can look, let's talk about the sewing. So here is a sewing machine, and here is a hand stitched. You can see where like it's doubled up a little bit. So that's a back stitch, and it reinforces. The Amazon one does have a back stitch. You can see right there, because sewing machines do back stitches as well. But here's one of the, probably the main difference. So what he does is a saddle stitch, and that's 2 needles, and it goes through each hole, and it basically creates a knot, okay? And so let's say you were to get one of the little stitches caught on something and it tore. It's not going anywhere else, right? One point of failure, one stitch. Now, if you were to get one of these caught on something, it's just like when you have a shirt and the thread starts to come out and you pull it and the whole thing unravels. Same thing here, okay? So where these, you're gonna have one little stitch tear, the whole thing will fall apart, okay? So after he does the stitching, he goes through, well, and I'll show you quickly too, the middle, like, so the back, you can see this is treated. It was dyed, in Tuscany, but he goes through and treats it so it's nice and it's sealed and it's protected. Here, Amazon one, not protected, right? That's just raw, plain leather. And same thing with the edges. So you can see where that's kind of shiny. That's called burnishing. And burnishing the edges, not burnished. So burnishing the edges is a very important step. It basically seals the leather, protects it. So when you have something that is not sealed, you run the risk of getting water in there. It can mold. It's just not going to be as durable in protecting the leather. So I think, again, going back to my number one reason why I think it's important to have leather journal covers is to protect things. I don't want my leather journal molding and getting gross on the edges, getting, moisture and whatnot in there and ruining the material. So that's a lot. At the end of the day, whether you buy from us or buy from another maker, I just think it's really important to know what you're getting, because you get what you pay for. And if you go on Etsy and you're like, oh my gosh, this beautiful genuine leather journal cover for $23.99, you're getting hot dog leather. And it's probably not going to be protected, because to create something this involved, it's not going to be $23.99, guys. So all things aside, that's just a lot of information about leather. It's what I know. If you have questions, put them in the comments. And if I can't answer them, I will, ask my expert husband downstairs to help me out with that. All right, so I didn't tell you at the beginning that I have been working on an experiment for the show, and I wondered if you might chime in and tell me if it's cool or if it's dorky. And if it's dorky, I won't have hurt feelings if you say it's dorky, just don't be mean. But I showed you in my last video that I learned how to do this, right? So this started out like this, and my husband taught me how to do this. I think it's pretty cool. Well, he had another idea. We wanted to do kind of like a show exclusive, and then if it would, did well at the show, then we would put him on the website. And so he had this idea, gave me the idea, and I was like, okay, we'll give it a try. So these all started out just a piece of unfinished leather, and I had him cut me out some A6s and some field notes, because those are like my preferred sizes right now. And I have been dyeing different designs on the leather. So this will fold like this, and then I will string it and tab it like this once they're all done. But I'm wondering, are they cool or are they dorky? I am not fishing for compliments, okay? Here's the thing. These take a long time. So basically I get the stencil. I'm not freehanding these. These are stencils, obviously. I get the stencil. I print the stencil on vinyl. I weed the stencil. And if you know how weeding a stencil of like details, it's very tedious. And then get the stencil onto the leather, and then I use my little handheld airbrush and I dye the stencil, and then I pull it and then I treat it. it's quite a process. And so if these are dorky, I only have 3 days left before the show. I don't want to waste my time making more of these, right? Because you know how sometimes like you think something's cool and then it turns out it's kind of like live, laugh, love. If these are dorky, I want to know. So before I put, and then this one was kind of fun. He did this one because he's into octopi. So anyway, you can tell me if you think these are cool or not, and if I should bring more to the show. All right, so that was a lot. I hope that you learned something. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that maybe you're inspired to look at some cool leather journal covers for your precious journals. You know, if you think about it, this hobby can be really expensive. We spend hundreds of dollars on our pens. We spend tons of money on our journals, and I just think how valuable it is to protect them and to have journal covers that will last a lifetime. You know, these Amazon ones, like, they're going to fall apart at some point, end up in a landfill. I don't know. But a really well handcrafted leather journal is going to last you for your lifetime. I know my daughters are going to get a whole ton of them when I die. Anyway, all right, thanks for sticking around. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And if you have an opinion about my stenciled covers and you want to tell me, I would love to know if they're cool or if they're live, laugh, love. So, all right, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.